Get ready for a spine-tingling tale of the supernatural. In this ghost story, we'll journey into the unknown and encounter a restless spirit. Are you ready to be scared? The story name is The Traveler and the Haunted Village. There was a small village nestled deep in the woods, where the inhabitants were few and far between. It was said that a ghost haunted the area, and the villagers were too afraid to venture out after dark. One night, a traveler was passing through the village and found himself lost in a dense forest. As the darkness set in, he saw a faint light in the distance and made his way towards it. The light led him to a small cottage, where an old woman welcomed him inside. The traveler was relieved to have found shelter for the night, but as he sat down to rest, he noticed that the old woman was acting strangely. She would mutter to herself and stare off into the distance, as if she was seeing something that he couldn't. After a while, the old woman finally spoke up. "Do you see him?" she asked, her voice quivering. "See who?" the traveler replied, confused. "The ghost," she said. "He's been haunting this cottage for years. He comes at night and whispers in my ear, telling me to do terrible things." The traveler was terrified, but he tried to remain calm. He asked the old woman what he could do to help, and she told him that the only way to banish the ghost was to confront him. As the night wore on, the traveler sat in the cottage, waiting for the ghost to appear. And just as the old woman had said, he came. The ghost was a dark, shadowy figure, and he whispered in the traveler's ear, telling him to leave and never come back. But the traveler stood his ground. He spoke to the ghost, telling him that he had no right to haunt the living and that it was time for him to move on. And slowly but surely, the ghost began to fade away, until he was nothing but a distant memory. The old woman was overjoyed to be rid of the ghost, and she thanked the traveler for his bravery. As he left the village the next day, he couldn't help but wonder if there were more ghosts out there, waiting to be confronted and banished to the afterlife. As the traveler continued his journey, he heard rumors of another haunted village not too far away. Intrigued, he decided to investigate and see if he could help banish another ghost. When he arrived at the village, the locals were hesitant to speak with him. They were afraid of the ghost that had been haunting their town for years, and they didn't want to risk angering it. Undeterred, the traveler decided to spend the night in the village to see if he could catch a glimpse of the ghost. Sure enough, as the night wore on, he saw a shadowy figure moving through the streets. The traveler followed the ghost to a small cemetery on the outskirts of town. There, he saw the ghost standing by a tombstone, weeping silently. Feeling empathy for the ghost, the traveler approached him and asked why he was haunting the village. The ghost revealed that he was a soldier who had died in battle and was buried in the cemetery. He had been unable to rest peacefully because he had left his family behind and felt guilty for not being able to protect them. The traveler listened to the ghost's story and offered him comfort. He told the ghost that he had done his duty and that his family would be proud of him. And slowly but surely, the ghost began to fade away, at peace with his past. The next morning, the traveler returned to the village and told the locals what had happened. They were amazed that he had been able to banish the ghost, and they thanked him for his bravery. As the traveler continued his journey, he encountered many other ghosts and spirits, each with their own stories and reasons for haunting the living. And each time, he listened with empathy and compassion, offering comfort and helping the lost souls find peace. In the end, the traveler became known as a hero, a ghost hunter who had the power to banish even the most stubborn of spirits. And though he never forgot the ghosts he had encountered, he knew that he had given them the gift of peace, a chance to move on to the afterlife and rest easy. Years went by, and the traveler became known as a legendary ghost hunter. Many people sought his help in banishing ghosts from their homes and villages, and he never turned anyone away. One day, the traveler came across a small town that had been abandoned for years. The townspeople had fled in terror after a particularly violent and vengeful ghost began haunting their homes. The traveler entered the town and soon came face to face with the ghost. It was a dark and menacing figure, with glowing red eyes and a voice that seemed to shake the very earth beneath his feet. The traveler knew that this ghost would not be easy to banish. He tried speaking to it, reasoning with it, but the ghost only became angrier and more vengeful. Days turned into weeks, and still the traveler remained in the town, trying to find a way to banish the ghost. He slept little and ate less, consumed by his desire to help the trapped souls. Finally, one night, as he lay awake, the traveler had an idea. He knew that the ghost was fueled by anger and resentment, and he realized that the only way to banish it would be to help it find peace. The next day, the traveler set to work, repairing the buildings in the town, restoring them to their former glory. He cleaned the streets, planted flowers, and created a beautiful memorial to the town's former inhabitants. As he worked, he spoke to the ghost, telling him about the beauty of the town and the memories it held. Slowly but surely, the ghost began to calm down, until he was nothing more than a faint presence. And then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the ghost was gone. The town was at peace once more, and the traveler knew that he had done what he had set out to do. As he left the town, the traveler felt a sense of contentment. He knew that there would always be ghosts and spirits haunting the living, but he also knew that he had the power to banish them and help them find peace. And so, he continued his journey, traveling from town to town, banishing ghosts and spreading hope and peace wherever he went. For the traveler, there was no greater purpose than to help the lost souls find their way home. Thanks for watching and joining me on this journey into the world of the paranormal. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more spooky content. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the unknown.